Good morning and welcome to KidNuz. I'm Tori. It's Tuesday, March 30th, 2021. And we begin with that stuck cargo ship finally unstuck. As we've been reporting on KidNuz, a giant ship as long as the Empire State Building is tall had been blocking the super important Suez Canal in Egypt for the last week. But yesterday, thanks to the moon and high tides, along with a lot of human effort, it started floating again, and thanks to a dozen tugboats, is now on the move. The busy waterway had hundreds of other ships backed up, causing a massive floating traffic jam and big delays for the delivery of cargo all over the world. The boats that had been idling patiently outside the canal are now motoring through it, but the impact on the global shipping industry is going to take some time to sort out, partly because dozens of cargo ships already decided to take the long way around the Horn of Africa rather than wait for the Suez situation to get sorted. A different kind of floating device is making news thanks to the rock band Coldplay. The musicians have adopted a barge that removes plastic from polluted rivers. The watercraft was developed by Ocean Cleanup, the project started by a Dutch teenager a decade ago to tackle the giant garbage patch in the Pacific Ocean. The goal of these solar-powered barges is to catch the plastic in some of the world's dirtiest rivers before it floats out to the ocean. Coldplay's lead singer Chris Martin says without this kind of action, there could be more plastic than fish in the oceans by the year 2050. So they're proud to sponsor a barge called Interceptor 5, which will catch thousands of tons of waste before it reaches the open seas. A bitter reaction to a sweet gesture. Krispy Kreme is responding to some backlash over its offer to give free donuts every day for the rest of the year to anyone who's gotten a COVID vaccine. One doctor tells USA Today that while she appreciates the effort to encourage people to get a shot, donuts should be an occasional treat, and it's really not healthy to encourage people to eat one every day. The company's CEO responded in an interview with Yahoo Finance Live that if folks don't want to visit a donut shop, they don't have to. And shortly after those comments, he doubled down. The company is now offering a free donut and coffee on Mondays to anyone who wants it, vaccinated or not, through May 24th. While donuts may be only an occasional treat, peanuts are a never for some of us. But a new study has found that there's been a notable decrease in the number of kids with peanut allergies. The research by the Murdoch Children's Research Institute in Australia found that more parents are following new guidelines, which encourage giving peanut products to babies before they turn 1. And the study found doing so led to a 16% drop in kids with allergies. Doctors are encouraged by the findings, but say more research is still needed. In sports news, the U.S. men's soccer team has once again failed to qualify for the Olympics. The Americans needed just one more goal to keep their hopes alive, but lost to Honduras by a score of 2-1 in a semifinal match that took place in 90-degree heat in Guadalajara, Mexico. The U.S. coach said they're absolutely devastated, but at the end of the day, I just don't think we had enough. They'll have to try again in 3 years when the next Summer Olympics will take place in Paris. The first race of the F1 season was a thriller. Max Verstappen was in the lead most of the competition, which took place in the Persian Gulf nation of Bahrain. But the Dutch race car driver made an error in one of the final laps, so he had to slow down a bit, allowing Lewis Hamilton to win by 0.7 of a second. The British driver is gunning for a record 8th Formula One World Championship, which would break a tie with Michael Schumacher for the most F1 titles. That's it for KidNuz. Now the KidNuz quiz, generously brought to you today by the Muscarella family in Buffalo, New York. In addition to human efforts, what helped free a stuck cargo ship in the Suez Canal? The moon and high tides. Which rock band is sponsoring a floating device to clean up polluted rivers? Coldplay. What was the margin of victory for Lewis Hamilton in the first F1 race of the season? 0.7 of a second. Why is Krispy Kreme facing some backlash for its offer of free donuts? Doctors say they should only be eaten occasionally, not every day. In One for the Road, a little more about the Suez Canal. It took 10 years to build back in the mid-1800s when Egypt was under French control. The artificial waterway is 120 miles long and connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean. A French sculptor tried to convince the Egyptian government to let him build a tall statue of a woman holding a torch to serve as a lighthouse guiding ships through the waterway when it opened. Egypt rejected the proposal, but the sculptor continued shopping the idea around, and it was finally unveiled a decade later in the New York harbor and is now known as the Statue of Liberty. Before we go, we want to give a big KidNuz shout out to some of our awesome teachers. Mrs. Johnson at St. Paul School in Cana, Virginia. Teacher and mom Susie Sutherland, who's homeschooling in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. In Illinois, Mrs. Travis and her students at Fairview Elementary in Mount Prospect. And Mrs. O'Neill at Ryder in Chicago, where they listen every day. And Ms. Peck, whose motto is, Yay for Mistakes, at Ensworth in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. We might use some of your comments on our website or emails. And we hope you tune in for more KidNuz tomorrow morning.